have a positive relationship with teachers and administrators at your school. Let them know that you're there to help them, and not just always to kick back against things, but to be there and to be present. Also, you have to ask to see all of the content, and it's not going to be a textbook. It's going to be the online digital sources.
It's all of it.
That's where so much of the material is coming in. And please don't ever think it can't happen at your school, in your neighborhood, in your church youth group, because when you say it can't ever happen here, that means it's probably already happened. And it will happen. Be an investigative parent. Always be seeking and looking for the truth.
Thank you for joining me today on Standing Firm. I'm Tony Stockton, and in the studio with me today, I am super excited because she's not only a good friend of mine, but maybe she might not know this, but she has encouraged me and inspired me in more ways than I can even tell you. But she's in the studio with me. This is a woman that has personally and still is, she's engaged on the cultural lines. Her name is Joi Wasill. She's Director of Decisions, Choices, and Options, and it's an organization that we desperately need in this hour. It's an organization that serves the Middle Tennessee area with programs designed to teach and educate teens regarding sexual risk avoidance. So in other words, she talks about the dangers, her and her team, of premarital sex and everything that goes along with it. And I'm so excited to welcome you in the studio today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, honey. And in many ways, you are my hero, and I don't say that lightly. You know, I know this is supposed to be a conversation, but a lot of times I just want to sit underneath your wisdom and hear what you had to say. And we're in a culture, I was thinking about this on my drive into the studio. We're in a culture that a lot of people think they have all the answers, and they've got it all together, and they don't need any wisdom, and they don't need to sit under any leadership or any type of authority. But you have been battling in this cultural war, and honestly, I could pretty much hand the mic to you and just have you talk to our viewers on the dangers of what is happening in this culture today, because I keep saying this, everything has changed. So Joi, tell us about your love for what you do and a little bit about decisions, choices, and options.
Well, 21 years ago, I received a phone call from a close friend at church, and she was telling me through tears that her 15-year-old daughter had just told her that she was pregnant. And at that particular time, I was staying home with my son. He was 2 and enjoying the life of a stay-at-home mom. And I walked through that pregnancy with my friend and her daughter, and I was absolutely stunned at how horribly she was treated by her classmates at school, by some of her teachers at school, when she announced her decision to choose adoption for the baby. And
That's so good.
Everything
That's
she
so
was
good.
hearing was absolutely false information. And she had chosen a wonderful young couple from our area to be the parents of this little boy. And it was just going to be an open, beautiful story of adoption. But the words of those 15 and 16-year-old students at her school and some of her adult teachers really got into her psyche and into her heart and made her feel like she was a bad person for choosing adoption.
For choosing to keep the baby.
For choosing to give life to the baby. And many of her friends even said, I would have an abortion before I would choose adoption.
Of course, that's the culture's
Yes, absolutely. They used
answer.
horrible language. Why are you giving your baby away? Why don't you love your child? That child's going to grow up to hate you. So what 15-year-old would go through with a decision that has been positioned in her mind and heart that she's a really bad person? So she didn't go through with the adoption plan. She chose to parent as a 16-year-old child. And it so bothered me, Tony. It was just heavy on my heart because my career prior to being a stay-at-home mom was high school teacher. I started teaching in 1989.
You've always been in the thick of things.
I've always been in education. And so I taught high school before our son was born and had intended to return back when he started school. God just had a different plan. I started a little sooner. So I went to our principal at the high school where I had taught, and I told him what had happened to my friend's daughter. And I said, do you think I could come in and just talk to the kids about the reality of sexual activity prior to marriage and what happens if a pregnancy occurs? Because they're facing 3 really hard choices. And those choices are parenting, abortion, and adoption. And they don't know anything factually correct about any of the 3.
No.
And so they're making the hardest decision.
I can testify
It's
to
the
that.
hardest decision that a girl or guy will ever make in their life, and they're making it without the facts. And he said, sure, come on in. And so in the fall of 2002, the DCO ministry was birthed.
That's how it began.
That's how it began. And now, 21 years later, from one school in one county in Tennessee, we now serve 11 county school systems.
And you have an awesome team.
We do. We
It's
have
not just you.
a team.
You
No,
have an
it's not me. It
incredible
started out
team.
just me. We have an
Right.
incredible team. There are 13 educators and a few administrators who work in our office to keep things running while everybody's out in the schools teaching. Because what we do inside the classroom.
You are a very bright light in a very dark system. I'm just going to call it what it is.
Yeah.
And I love that you have the courage, the boldness, and it hasn't been easy.
No, it has not. It has not.
Been easy.
We,
talk a little bit about that.
We haven't done this without, I guess, controversy, if you would say, because sex education is one of the most controversial topics that you can discuss.
It is.
And everybody has an opinion about it. But what we do is we teach sexual risk avoidance education, which used to be in the old days called abstinence. It's so much bigger than that,
I still call it abstinence.
I know.
Can I not
I do
say
too.
that?
I do too.
Okay.
I do too. But
I must be old. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it really has changed into be more. It's been a
all
good
about
change.
language. Okay.
It is a good change
Okay.
because it has changed to be more about equipping young people with the skills, the knowledge, and the mindset to make decisions based on not just what feels good today or what everybody else says today, but on their long-term future goals. Because if they choose to be sexually active during their teen years, and I saw it as a high school teacher, that brings with it
There's a lot of ramifications.
a myriad of
think about.
issues, mainly emotional issues. Most of the teens, 68% of the teens who choose to be sexually active wish they hadn't. That's a national
Depression
study.
follows.
Depression,
all these,
all of those things, not to mention the health repercussions from STDs, STIs, and then of course pregnancy. But you know what? This decision impacts their long-term future.
Right.
Their future relationships are harmed. Their future academic performance is harmed because when they participate in risky behavior, they're not focused on the goal.
The long term.
Right.
Right.
And so we teach them to reorient their focus and look at 10 years and do 10-year planning. And where do you want to be? And
because as teenagers, it's so easy just to live in the moment and you don't have the big picture of things.
That's
and
true.
I love your courage and your boldness because you go in and talk about some pretty tough stuff.
We do.
And I remember that one, I don't know if it was you or Beth, was actually giving a presentation and someone passed out.
Yes.
And but just the fact that you're courageous to go in and it's not applauded. It's really not. And as the culture continues to grow darker, there is a cultural battle right now. How have you been able to stand strong against that?
Well, when you're speaking truth,
right?
I mean, we're speaking optimally healthy truth.
That's right.
We're speaking medically accurate truth, and you can't really argue against that. I mean, you can attempt to, but
they're trying to.
Yes,
they're
and they
trying
are.
to.
Oh, yes, daily. But if you Google search something, you're going to be able to find anything to refute anything.
Okay.
But actually, the medical truth and the scientific truth is that if you choose not to have sex prior to marriage, you are not going to have an STD. You are not going to get pregnant. Your education's not going to be impacted. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we start and end all of our programs with is the success sequence. And we talk about, and I talked about this with governors.
Is so
I've
important.
talked about it with legislators. There is a proven poverty prevention strategy, and it's called the success sequence.
I believe it.
If young people will choose to do the following 3 things in order, if they will choose to graduate from high school and complete their education, whatever that looks like, whether it's just high school, trade school, college, complete their education, then get full-time employment, and after that, they become married after the age of 21, and children follow marriage. If those 3 things are done in order, they have a less than 9% chance of ever living in poverty.
Absolutely.
So it's really just a strategy that provides them with that abundant life that we all as parents, I'm a parent, my son's 23, and I literally raised him on this program. He was 2 when I started it. So he's literally grown through the DCO program.
He's on the front lines.
And I knew he got it when he was a freshman in college at a major university, and he had gone to private Christian school from kindergarten through 12th grade, graduated there, and I was very concerned about him going to this large state university, but he called me and said, Mom, I think you need to bring DCO here because they need it.
You know what? Absolutely, because I wanted to touch base, and I was reading some of the bio. This is not just a program that is in government public schools. You know me, that's what I call it. It's not just in public schools, but you're taking this into private schools. Yes. You've also developed a program that homeschool families can use, because this is right now, and I told you before going on air that you are probably more relevant today than you've been in probably since conception, because of all of the misinformation and this gender confusion nonsense that the culture's trying to manufacture and thrust upon the kids. Can you talk about that? Has that been a problem with non-binary and cisgender? I mean, do they bring that up? Do y'all tackle that?
Occasionally they will bring it up, because we talk about, obviously, we have 4 programs. And we started with one in 2002, and we added a middle school program. The teachers asked us to. They said, you need to create something for middle school. And now the teachers are asking us to create something for 5th and 6th grade. Okay,
so that's important. That's important. And this is one of the reasons I want to tackle all these things. And I promised you relatable conversations, and we were going to be very candid. So this sexual over-sexualization of our children is getting younger and younger and younger. And I tell my audience all the time, hopefully you don't need me to tell you that. But I want to keep referencing that because, and you just said it. So you're actually hearing an outcry from teachers saying, we need to start sooner.
And we had, and probably 15
so that's
years
breaking
ago.
My heart.
Yes,
a 5th grader
it is.
Should be outside playing and climbing trees.
And the problem is, it's coming. What parents don't understand is it's coming from every direction. It's not just coming from the sources that I think most of the time we want to hang the blame on, which is the public school or the curriculum. It's coming from there, the social media and the online presence. And if you ask me, what is the number one concern for parents? It's the social media presence of their children. And when you hand a child a phone that's connected to the internet, or a device, an iPad, a Chrome, if you do that and you haven't put filters, strong filters, on those devices, you are literally, it's the same as leaving the front door of your home open at night and inviting anyone to come in and to tell anything to your children, because you've given them access to all of that information, and they're not old enough to handle it.
They can't handle it.
And all of my teacher friends from 2nd grade up are saying the same thing. 2nd grade. That have iPhones. They can't handle the emotions. They can't handle the cyberbullying is off the charts in elementary school.
Yes, it is.
And that's something that can lead to suicide by children when they feel that they can't get away from the bully. So it's a pretty serious topic that I hope we're going to explore a little bit later.
Well, and my other guests that I've talked about, media, social media, then you want to add in, so you've got this mixing bowl, if you will. You've got the social media aspect of it. You've got the Marxist curriculum that's coming in. We just recently talked about suicide ideation being woven all through the curriculum, which I honestly could do a whole episode just on that alone. And so all the elements, all the fiery darts that are coming against our kids are getting younger and younger and younger. But that's what I love about your program, because you're not afraid to tackle that. And your message for parents, we only have about 30 seconds before we take a break, but your message to parents is what?
Basically, if you're going to monitor the devices, then you definitely want to consider the age and the maturity level of your child. And I would not give my child a phone that has access to the internet before the 8th grade.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. If then.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Seeds Family Worship. Our mission is to help kids and families get into God's Word. And here's how we do it. We sing God's Word. We believe that kids who sing God's Word know God's Word. And kids that know God's Word love God. We have over 178 word-for-word scripture songs across all streaming platforms, including Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, and more.
Hey, sweet friends, welcome back to Standing Firm. In the studio with me today is a wonderful woman of God who's on the front lines of this cultural war with our children, Joi Wasill. And Joi, we left off talking about the dangers of online media and how can parents engage and guard their children against online media?
You know, we have, if you want to go to our DCO website, it's dcoinc.org, and you can find a parent toolkit tab on there. And we just added something that literally came in last night from one of our staff members. And we have, like I said, a team of 13 individuals who work for us.
Yes.
And most of them are out in the schools teaching, but they're always looking, and some of them are much younger than I am, so they're really gathering in data.
Which is necessary.
Yes, yes, it is,
that's
absolutely,
awesome.
because they're all over social media. But this Dirty Dozen list came in last night, and we're probably, by the time we get off air, it will be on our parent toolkit. But it was published, and it shows the Dirty Dozen list for 2023 of the most dangerous apps that our children can be engaging in. And number 1 was the App Store on Apple. Number 2 is Roblox. And then it goes down through the list. I had no idea that Spotify had porn on it. I thought it was just music. I didn't know that. Did you?
I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either.
I did not know that.
And then the usual Snapchat, Kik, Instagram, Twitter. But those are all...
Spotify?
Yes. And these are signs for sexual exploitation of children.
Of course.
So these are rated as the Dirty Dozen because of the sexual exploitation of children that takes place on these apps. And so on our site, they can find the information about Wait Until 8th, which is a plan of parents coming together and deciding we're going to band together as parents, and we're not giving our children smartphones until at least minimally the 8th grade.
This is so good.
And so that way your child doesn't feel like, well, I'm the only one in the 5th grade that doesn't have a phone. Well, remember, it's not just you.
It's that peer pressure.
Yes, it is. And it's peer pressure among parents too.
Yes, yeah.
And so this kind of brings moms together and dads together, and we really need moms and dads together on this. It's not just a mom issue. The daddies have to speak into their kids. They're the protector of their children, and they have to do that. And so there's lots of places where you can find information. Bark is a wonderful app to put on your child's phone.
So we have that. I love Bark.
Yes.
Covenant Eyes. That's a big one for us.
So all of those things are on our parent toolkit. You can go there and
so I love that. So so this website, parents can go, because I know, when I was a first-time mom, it's hard to know where to go, who to trust. And it just seems like there's something new. I heard a daddy say, I feel like I'm always 2 apps behind.
Yes.
And so in this ever-changing culture of technology, it really is. You can kind of sometimes feel like you're losing hope trying to keep up with all this. But I love how you've kind of put it all together, you and your amazing team. And so parents can go there. And at least it's a great starting point. And I mean, just like that, the Dirty Dozen. Who knew? Pornography was on Spotify.
I know. That was shocking to me. That was shocking. But as soon as an app comes out, then they will come out with something that will get around it. So it really is kind of a nonstop proactive engagement to make sure that when the app doesn't update, that you update your phone so that it's staying ahead of those who are creating the Dirty Dozen materials. So it's just one of those things. And last night I was having dinner with a friend of mine who's a child therapist. And she said it's unbelievable the amount of interaction between children and groomers online. She said it has increased tremendously since COVID.
Well,
that they're actually engaging with the groomers.
And through, is it Fortnite?
Yes.
Our kids have never played Fortnite. If they have, they've gone over to someone's house and they play just momentarily. Well, we don't have it.
We're going to talk about that too.
And my kids know. My kids think I'm a little over the top, but that's okay. That's okay, because it's actually, it's turned out to be a good thing.
Well, here's an FBI statistic that I want your listening audience to hear. At any given time of the day, there are over 500,000 sexual predators online seeking interaction with 11 to 14-year-olds every day. All day, 500,000, and all night. So they're looking and they're using lots of materials and lots of devices. We don't have time to go into this, but there's, when we do our parent power workshops, that's one of the programs that I didn't really get to talk about earlier. We focus mainly on our school programs where we teach private, public, homeschool organizations. We have faith-based programs that we teach in Christian schools and in homeschool organizations, and then we have our secular version that we teach in the public schools. And they're all rooted in the same sexual risk avoidance, optimally healthy, medically accurate, biblically accurate material. But we've now, as a result of 15 years of teachers saying, you've got to do something with parents, you've got to engage parents, please do something to teach the parents. So we're now doing that.
So let's go back, because my ears just, so this is a parent workshop.
It's a 3-week or 3-night. We do it in person.
You do it in person. So we're in the Middle Tennessee area. But for our viewers that are not in the Middle Tennessee area, will it ever be online for them to access?
We're looking at that. We have come out with one online program for homeschool families that we came out with last year. And then we're releasing in June or July of this summer an amazing online program. It's called Designed for More. And it's a truly biblical series.
That's the banquet that I missed.
Yes.
That's the banquet that I missed.
It's amazing. It's in final cuts and final edits right now. And we are super excited about this. It's wonderful. And it's going to be for a donation to our ministry that they're going to be able to access these 5 chapters. We have a prologue that is me and another guy that is involved in this ministry talking directly to parents. And then we do an epilogue at the end.
I love that. So this is from a daddy's perspective?
Yes. Yes, it's from a daddy's perspective and a mama's perspective, because I'm a mama.
That's right.
A
mama bear.
Yes, a mama bear.
She's a mama bear.
Anyway, so that's all coming out. But these parent workshops, we cover all this in detail in our 3-week, or we're going to do some that are going to be like 9 to 12 and maybe have lunch. But we're wanting to do those in the church setting with parent groups in churches to really come together and say, we're going to band together to say, not our kids.
That's right.
Not our kids. And that's our vision as DCO. You asked me what our vision was when we were talking earlier. Our vision is to see all of the players of the community, beginning with the parents, then with the church, then with whatever school setting the child's in. I want to talk about that just in a minute. Any community organizations, dance, football, baseball, whatever they're doing in the community. And then the access to what they're being taught in school about sex education. So that would be us, that would be DCO. All of us coming together to be that protective shield around our children.
Yes.
And that's the only way we're going to win this battle.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just such a hard thing to do solo.
I know you had some more information you wanted to touch base on, because I don't want us to run out of time. I'm telling you, I could just sit and listen to her speak because of her wisdom, and also too with you just being engaged in this battle, because it's a battle that we all, there are children, and mommies and daddies, we need to be in the fight.
Yes.
A good friend of mine, Heidi St. John, says it's time to get off the bench and get engaged with what is happening to our children in this hour.
Absolutely.
So talk some more about how we get engaged, and then it's also too how all this is affecting all of our kids, not just in public school, but Christian school, homeschool.
Yes. I like to say there is no such thing as a high-risk category of kids. They are all high risk.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter.
Right now.
Yes. It doesn't matter if they go to public school, private school, Christian school, homeschool. You have to know who and what is being taught, who's teaching it and what's being taught. And I have a couple of examples, 3 exactly. I have a friend in Mississippi who is a former public school teacher, and she stayed home to homeschool her kids when they got of school age. And her daughter would earn 30 minutes of time on the iPad at night while mom's cooking dinner, and she's sitting at the kitchen table with mom in the kitchen. And all of a sudden one night she slammed the iPad down and said, "Oh, Mommy, I don't think I'm supposed to see that." And in the middle of an innocent child's game, horrible porn popped in because they have AI embedded in the games.
Tell our viewers what that means.
AI means that it's facial recognition. So they can recognize the bone structure to know if it's a child watching, if it's an adult watching, kind of the age of the child based on their bone structure.
Yes.
And so when the dad got home that night, he tried to pull it back up.
And it wouldn't come up.
It wouldn't come up.
It would only recognize it.
And he took a picture of his child and put it right next to the camera, and it popped right up. And so that's a homeschool
They're
mom.
after our children.
Yes. And so that's a homeschool mom who's teaching her kids at home.
That's right.
And then when my son was in the 1st grade at his private Christian school, he brought home a book on dinosaurs. And he loved dinosaurs. I had gone to Lifeway and bought him biblical dinosaur books.
Right.
And then he brings home this book, and it's not at all biblical based. It's millions and millions of years ago and all of
Girl,
that.
you're so much alike.
And I said, oh my goodness, I showed it to my husband. And so the next day I went to the librarian, and what had happened is a parent had bought a set of books and donated it to the library through
and
the
there's the
Scholastic.
evolution versus creation.
Yes,
which
and they didn't
tries-
know. They didn't know. And so I said, well, I'm going to give you these books that are
Yeah.
biblically based and ask you to take those out. And she did.
Right.
So, but you know, if you're afraid to go talk to somebody,
Getting engaged.
I know, I did it in a nice way. I
engaged,
didn't
yeah.
yell at her. And that's one of the things that you see a lot on YouTube and on TV, and
Right.
parents are yelling at people. That's really never a
It's
way
not
to engage.
effective.
It's not biblical.
It's-
It's not Christian.
Well, and it's not effective either.
No, it's not
Yeah.
effective. It's
And
just
not
going to
biblical.
harden them. And then
Mhm.
last week at a high school right outside of Birmingham, Alabama, a group that's a super radical group came into the school and did a health fair. And they were basically teaching the children how to get around their parents
Oh,
if they
my.
wanted to change their gender, if they wanted to be a different gender, if they wanted to go by different pronouns. And this was a 9 through 12 high school, and they had radically offensive materials on the table. And then they had a QR code where the kids could scan the QR code.
With a phone.
And now they have access directly to the child, which is what they want.
Right.
They want all the way around the school and the parents. So here's my take on what parents need to be doing is
Okay.
have a positive relationship with teachers and administrators at your school. Let them know that you're there to help them, and not just always to kick back against things, but to be
good.
there and to be present. Go on the school field trips. Also, you have to ask to see all of the content, and it's not going to be a textbook, Tony. It's going to be the online digital sources.
It's all of it.
That's where so much of the material is coming in. And please don't ever think it can't happen at your school, in your neighborhood, in your church youth group, because when you say it can't ever happen here, that means it's probably already
It's
happened.
going to happen.
And it will happen. Be an investigative parent. Always be seeking and looking for the truth. Look at your child's homework. Read all the books. Ask them questions. Here's what I always do with my son coming home from school and going to school. I would ask him, what are some new things you learned today? And if it's a new thing that you want
wanna
to
know about
monitor, you need to know about it.
That's right.
Pray over them before they leave school, while you're driving to school. Let them know that
Gosh, that's the
you
biggest
are
thing.
their safe place. And if anyone contradicts what you are teaching,
Right.
what daddy is teaching, what their church is teaching, and most importantly, what the Bible says, it's absolutely not a safe person or a safe
Right.
place, and I need to know about it because I need to protect you.
And encourage them to have that open dialogue
Yes,
with you.
open dialogue.
That's huge.
And then also make sure that you know who the school board members are in your community. They know you, have a conversation, have coffee with
Yes.
them. But also you have
That's
to know about the children that your child is friends with. And this is where those like wait until 8th groups get so important, because when parents don't put the same filters that you have and your child goes to their home, then guess what? They're exposed to porn on a
Eric and I
friend's.
were just talking about that on a
Yep.
previous episode. Joy, we have probably about 30 seconds left, and I want to make sure, when I found out about decisions, choices, and options, like I said, we're a homeschool family, but there's a program that I love of yours. So, Joy, how can a parent get in touch with you on how they can help decisions, choices, and options, because you're a nonprofit? Can you tell our viewers how they can do that?
Absolutely. You can go to our website at dcoinc.org. It takes $48 to take one of our children through the DCO program. So you could invest $48 and that would take one child a month through the program. You could invite us to come to your church. You could pray for DCO, and you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you so much.